Mic check. Shalom, shalom, shalom. What's good, my brothers?
Yo, shalom, shalom.
Yeah.
Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Yeah. Shout out to the world out there, all our listeners and viewers to the fourth principle. We greet you in the love and light of the infinite and only creator of the universe. We greet you in shalom.
Came. Making sure everything's good. How was y'all week this week, my brothers?
Yeah, the week was busy.
Yeah.
The week was very interesting in a good way.
Okay.
Okay. Right on.
So yeah, let's go ahead and get started.
All right. Well, again, if you're tuning in with us this afternoon, thank you, Toda. We appreciate it. We got a good show lined up this afternoon. Good discussion. And this week, or today, should I say, we're going to talk about the Christ consciousness to chakras and their relationship with creation, or to creation.
Okay. It's going to be good, pretty good.
Right. And once again, we're not telling anybody to believe anything that we're saying.
Right.
We're only sharing a perspective where we have obtained different fragments of understanding, and we're bringing them together to harness a greater understanding.
Right.
So, again, if you're out there, you hear something, you agree with it or you don't agree with it, you want to ask us a question, feel free to do so.
Right.
All right, let's get it.
Put it in the chat. You see the video later on. Put it in the chat down on YouTube or on Facebook. We'll get back with you. We'll answer the question.
Yeah, man.
We ain't scared. We ain't never scared. All good.
All right, so how you brothers want to, where you want to start at with this one?
Well, we left off with the Christ consciousness, right?
We did.
Right.
And I guess in a rendition that we talked about, like the Christ consciousness or the Christ, or that the one created all. And through that one is many different emanations, different creations of dimensions and realities and so on and so forth. So we're going to get into how the chakras actually align with each different density.
And let me ask you this, Kazak.
What's that?
Okay. You say 1 sec, or what's that?
I said, what's that?
Oh, in you explaining, or as we cover this topic, would you mind giving a very brief synopsis as to why this may be important in this particular time period?
Well, in this time, and I have notes, but as we talk about the different densities, and how they relate to the chakras,
right?
We're living in a time where they call it a New Age movement, but really, it's what it is a spiritual awakening. And as we get into the densities, you're gonna understand that we're kind of like we've been for a long time in what we call the third density, and we're actually, some would say we are in the fourth density now, and then some would say we're kind of like moving. We're like in a cusp in between, and what that means is, amount of awareness or the consciousness is expanded to where more information and veils are being dropped. I talk more about veils as we move on. But people, they're talking about chakras, right? Which are energy centers in the body. But how does that relate to creation as a whole? How does it relate to the mineral kingdom, earth, or elements?
Right.
Fire, wind, water, ether. How does it relate to the realm of movement, the animals, the plants, microbiology, and so on and so forth? How does it relate to, where we are now, which is we have what we call choice. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So and it goes beyond, this physical body, and it continues to go until we move back into the grand consciousness, the one consciousness, or the Christ consciousness. So that's what it's about. So to summarize it, moving into, or as we move through the fourth density, consciousness and awareness is expanding, and these things are needed to discern what's really happening and going on. Let me not say need, because it's only going to attract those who are aligned to it.
Right. Absolutely. And I would even add that I think that these particular ideas, even though they've been around for quite some time, I think that they were reserved in terms of their expression now to culminate well, let me back up. I think that they were reserved for this period of time in order to help people achieve spiritual ascension. Mm. And not just this isolated topic in and of itself, right? There are several components that are necessary, right? So for an example, and if you're wondering like, okay, well, why are y'all talking about this? Right? And if you've probably seen the episodes where we talk about who is the fourth principle, right? These particular topics are relevant for us because, one, it helps us discern a question that I think all of us probably deal with at one point in time or another, which is, why am I here? What am I put here to do?
Right.
What is the significance of my relationship with this person or this experience? Right. And again, some of us are attached to different text, which there's nothing wrong with that, right? But I'm of the opinion that any text that we read is a redaction of more information that has been spread out across the globe. And it's been in the hands of different people. And I'm not here to discuss the intentions of those people, not at this particular time, right? But again, it's bringing those elements, those different fractals of awareness, bringing them back together, right, for the purpose of soul development. And probably in another show we can talk about, like, as you learn these lessons, right, and your soul develops to a place which is appropriate, right, you take these lessons with you through the gate of death.
Right.
Right, and that's the other side that we really don't know anything about. But yeah, let's get it.
Okay. I guess I could start off in explaining, like, when I say density, what that means.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So first and foremost, there's more than 7 chakras. I mean,
right.
In the human body alone, there's hundreds, maybe thousands, hundreds. Right. But then also you go from your root chakra to your crown. Then you have like another, what we got, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, like another 5. I'm not going to get into those 5. I'm going to deal with the one that we deal with normally, which is the 7. Right. So 7 is an important number that we humans utilize to gain an important understanding of the metaphysical structure of the universe and soul's development. Mm-hmm. The 7 densities of consciousness corresponds to each of the 7 energy centers in our body.
Right.
Okay. And you have several musical notes on a scale. You have 7 colors of the rainbow.
Exactly.
So on and so forth. We talk about the 7 hermetic principles or laws that govern the universe. The universe is the mechanism that the one infinite creator, it allows the one infinite creator to know and experience itself. Okay? There are infinite universes, and the one that we exist in is just one of an infinite number of octaves or realities, right? Mm-hmm. The evolution of consciousness in each reality or octave works in 7 major stages or densities. So again, I'm going to say that the evolution of consciousness. So when I talk about density equals a level of consciousness. If you want to say measurement, but a level of awareness, a level of consciousness, right?
Right.
A density represents the entanglement of light or energies.
The entanglement of light.
Yes, the entanglement of light within a certain vibrational range.
Right.
So the lower the density, the slower the vibration.
Right.
Or should I say the slower the vibratory rate and the less capacity for the expression of consciousness. You want me to say it again?
And is that based on your ability to perceive light?
That depends. So the question will be, can a rock perceive light? Does a rock need to perceive light?
I got you.
A rock is vibrating at the lowest vibrational frequency. So then I would say the need to perceive light, I don't think a rock needs that. So a rock is just being.
Right.
It just is, right?
It just is. For millions and millions and what we perceive in our perception of what we call time.
Right. So as we talk about these different densities that you're discussing, right? As you ascend up.
If we're going to use direction, yes.
Okay.
Because we could say extend up or expand out. So it just depends on what works better for the audience as far as to get a frame of reference of understanding.
But nonetheless, you're growing.
You're growing.
Okay.
Or you see you see how this works?
It's okay. You do it.
Or you're returning.
Or you're returning.
Exactly.
Right. So anything else?
No. Go ahead.
It's kind of like, let's say we have the creator.
Right.
And his vibration goes out or expands out.
Expands out.
And it goes all the way down to a rock.
Yes.
Where what would be, like you say, a lower, maybe the furthest, maybe, I'm not saying that it is, furthest away from what we understand consciousness to be.
Yes.
So I just want to.
And the range in between, the creator's experiencing every infinite possibility of ranges from the rock back to the source.
Right.
So we don't understand that. We don't understand that source is in this moment is just being.
Right.
And if it wants to pull its consciousness away from that rock, it's experiencing Malak.
Right.
It's experiencing Zokane. Right. It's experiencing as Kazakh. Right. And et cetera, et cetera. And then it could pull its consciousness away from that. And it's like, I'm a universe. I know all things. And it just keeps going infinitely down and infinitely up.
Right.
We can't perceive or conceptualize, but we're just sharing to make it make sense the best we can. Right? So the higher densities have a faster vibratory rate and more ability to express consciousness in its fullness.
Right.
This is what drives the engine of evolution. Evolution is a fundamental principle within the universe. Everything in creation must be an authentic, organic experience. So I can't take what Malak tells me, that everything that happened to him went this in that way or whatever the case may be, and take it on as my experience.
Right.
Because now we fall into the realm of belief.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right. But it's not to say you can't take it on and roll with it, and then things happen for you uniquely from a lot based on what he told you.
Right.
But now that's what you experience after that is your experience, your personal experience, and that's how we actually grow, at least physically, and then consciously.
Right. Man, I was just listening to a video, and I think the guy called it like a parody when you're trying to copy someone else's
blueprint.
Yes.
Like like they do Michael Jackson or something.
Right.
They all emulate that, which you shouldn't be that. You should take the mind thinking of Michael Jackson and his creative thoughts and put them into your thing
and become something new.
Yes. Exactly.
Yes. So from what I just said, it means that everything must come through evolution. Everything within the physical world evolves, and everything within the metaphysical world evolves, including consciousness. Right? We can try to look at the formation of the solar system. However, in this case, we're just going to look at what we've experienced here on Earth, in the Earth realm, or what we can kind of say, what we take the word of the scientists when they talk about the planets and the constellations in the solar system, the galaxy, the formation of the sun, and so on and so forth. Here on Earth, the formation, the formation of the first density of consciousness. We're going to start there. So I don't know if anybody want to just go into start going to the chakras, or you want me to lead it off. It's up to you guys.
Well, let's get the definition of chakras, where they come from.
I'll leave that to you.
We can go from there.
Go ahead.
Well, what I understand is that they are what most people would call energy centers.
Okay.
In the ancient Sanskrit word, it would be chakra, which means a spinning wheel, a wheel that spins. Now, I can say it may not be clockwise. I think it's counterclockwise, because all the things I've seen normally does a clockwise thing. I mean, not clockwise, counterclockwise thing. And I think they were normally, they were first read about in the sutras, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
In the sutras, which is an Indian text, I think it is.
It is.
Chakras was first mentioned in the Vedas, the ancient Hindu texts of knowledge that were created as early as 15,000 BC in India. So that's who they probably found it at. And you got to realize, like you said, people want to say new age stuff. This stuff been around for thousands and thousands of years, that they were doing, and probably before that. This is just where it was written down at.
Right.
It could have been practice in what most people would call Lemuria, and before that, or on other planets also.
Yes.
So, yes, we do believe in beings on other planets. Yes, totally, I do.
It's in your holy text.
It's right there in your book.
Right.
There's a lot in the book. Once you come to a certain consciousness, it's laid forth throughout there. I think yeah.
Are we doing we just gonna stick with the English meanings, or we're gonna hit the Sanskrit, like your Muladhara? Like, so the first chakra is the Muladhara, if I said that correctly.
Right.
Muladhara. Other names is just your root chakra.
So,
Exactly.
if you will, like if you take this right, just expound on why understanding that is important for your development.
Well,
Right.
There's so many dynamics to go with it, but we just go simple, like they align with direct energy centers that actually govern certain glands in your body.
Exactly.
So right now we're dealing with the root chakra, right? Sanskrit name for the first chakra, also called the base or root chakra, is the Muladhara. The word combines mul, or the base, or adhara, meaning support, which wonderfully describes the first chakra's main goal: to root and sustain us in our daily life.
Right.
Now, how does that relate to density.
There you go.
Right? You have the base and the foundation, which is like your magma, your rock, water. When I say rocks, I'll say minerals because that's what makes rocks.
Right.
Air, ether,
Right.
which is just, I can't even describe ether. It's like what, if you look in space, that's ether.
That's ether.
It's that substance that we consider spirit, right?
Right.
They all interact with one another. The friction of this interactions begins to evolve consciousness into the second density, which is growth and movement. But right now we're in the first. So how that affects you? It's the base center for like your food, clothing, shelter. Help me out if there's anything I'm missing. Grounding,
security,
grounding to the earth.
Right.
So when we say grounding, we're talking to the earth.
Right. Exactly.
So is this more so something where, like in terms of growth, if you are at the base, right, you have a stream-like attachment to what's material.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, that's, go ahead.
Balanced, it's necessary.
Right.
Because you need the earth. The earth is, we say Mother Earth, Gaia, whatever terms you may know. But the earth is what provides the elements that gave you your physical body.
Agreed.
Right? So that's why we align to that. You understand? So a balanced chakra is you feel confident or sustained in your food, your clothing, your shelter, your necessary needs. Right. And imbalance is, you're afraid, you have fear, you it's
you have survival issues.
Yes.
It's like you don't trust that you're gonna be fed every day.
So,
or clothed every day.
In this instance, right? In this area of consciousness, is this where you are as an individual the densest?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so
Facts.
If you're there, what does that mean? If this is where you're the densest in terms of, if we're framing this type of discussion around understanding these subtle energy bodies in terms of how you're progressing in this current experience, right? Maybe you can provide a little bit more insight as to why it may be described as this is the area where you're the densest.
Right. Well,
Go ahead.
I can say, well, what I understand of what I study from, and I can go back into the scriptures, and I can say, well, just read the story of Adam.
Okay.
The man of the ground, had security issues because he wanted to take forth. Well, Eve wanted to take forth of the fruit of the good and knowledge of evil, and he took part of it. So now he's really cast down to the ground. So that is the lower state, what I would say a lower state of man is Adam, or you could say Esau, the lower part of someone that's not being grounded or have survival issues.
Okay.
Or if I still want to go on, I can go into Pesach. That's why you slaughter the lamb, so you can get security. You're supposed to look after your brothers.
Commonly known as Passover.
Or Passover. I can go in there.
Okay. One thing that we didn't say is that you mentioned Adam, which some the term definitions would be human, red, ready. Esau, it said he red pottage, red lentil. So I'm saying that to say that in the chakra system, the color associated with the root chakra is red. But I'm gonna go over some something to help with your question. It's from the Complete Book of Chakras by Cindy Dale. I'll hold it up to the camera later. You just gotta remember to put the references. So let me see excuse me. Woo, wanted to sneeze.
And also the element of the root chakra is earth.
Yes. The Muladhara rules all feelings and beliefs contributing to the sense of safety and security. The primary belief governing this chakra is the belief that you are worthy of existing. So again, how it aligns with the first density is I exist.
Right.
And that's also a meditation. I exist when you
Right.
want to deal with the root chakra. The chakra processes all primal feelings, including the 5 feelings that are typically considered the most basic constellations: anger, sadness, fear, disgust, joy,
Right.
and the related survival reactions, including rage, resentment, futility, despair, terror, abandonment, rejection, shame, guilt, bliss, oneness, and longing. When our beliefs, usually created in response to experiences in our family of origin, support our identity as a spiritual being, we easily manifest money, love, desirable career,
Right.
and optimum physical health, which are all what? Physical things.
Physical
Physical
things.
things.
Things related to the
Exactly.
physical realm.
Exactly.
When our eternal identity is compromised, when we believe ourselves unwanted, undeserving, and unworthy, our primal survival needs are compromised. And we might experience insufficient finances, inadequate primary relationships, an unhappy career, and more. This chakra encompasses our earliest childhood issues in this life, which
Right.
is your base when you first come into this physical existence,
Exactly.
but also karma from previous lives. Together, these components determine the happiness and unhappiness of our current life.
Which, if you look at society as a whole, most people in general, they float between that spectrum of being happy and unhappy.
Yes.
And in between all of that is the going back and forth between the different rudiments that you just discussed.
Yes. Yes.
So think about spending 30 years in that place.
It's based on each soul's development.
Right. So you would either progress, meaning that you would learn the lessons associated with this particular body
Yes.
of energy, right? Or you repeat the lessons over and over
And you may carry it over to another lifetime.
to another lifetime.
Yes.
Right. So like if you're tuning in and you're listening, right, what we're explaining just at a very, very base level, these are certain blueprints that you take with you. Right? These are certain, and if you go back to a couple of our episodes before, we talked about your core energetic blueprint. Right? Everybody has one. Meaning, based on where your sphere of consciousness lies on the spectrum, if you will, right? This is where you basically this is where you gain your knowledge through your experiences.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Exactly.
So we are also responsible for creating karma as we go. This is called prarabdha karma. This means to achieving positive karma is learning how to control our manas, which is Sanskrit for mind.
Mind.
Control your mind, which we talked about last week, as well as our senses through discipline, sadhana. Within this mix, Kundalini stirs all seeds of life, activated the positive and negative, so that all our emotional and mental programs are illuminated. Common traumas related to the first chakra include being exposed to sexual or physical abuse or addictions, money challenges, birthing complications, abandonment, and not being wanted by our parents. What happens if this chakra is emotionally disturbed? There are many symptoms of this, among them lack of safety, security, and trust, inability to manifest, lack of connection to home or primary relationships, disconnections from societal norms, lack of groundedness, and depression, anxiety, or addictions. Someone with psychological imbalances in the first chakra
Number
can
of
also be
complex
deeply
and
hurt.
intricate experiences that are not necessarily expressed in words or pictures.
Say that one more time.
Okay. So as we discuss each one of these planes, or what we, or the common name chakras, however you want to describe it, the point that I want to bring out is that each one of these are associated with the element that represents a number of complex and intricate experiences that are not necessarily expressed in words or pictures. And that's important because we're a society that is highly visual.
Yes.
Right.
Right? So most people say, well, to see it is to believe it. Right. But these are the subtle expressions of the body, right, that you don't always see unless your vision is aligned to perceive it.
Right.
So that's, just to give insight to like why you might be explaining it the way that you are.
Right.
And it also affects body parts when you're talking about root chakras or all these chakras, because they're all lined up with glands within the body and certain parts of the body. Like the root chakra we was talking about, it is correlated with the spinal column, legs, feet, kidney, rectum, immune system, male reproduction organs. That's where a lot of people have problems with prostate cancer and stuff like that. Could be from an effect of having issues with the root chakra.
So if I take that a step further, hopefully this ain't too far off the beaten path, right?
Do you think?
But if I take that a step further, right, understanding like what these elements are associated with, each body part, each functioning organ, is comprised of a certain pattern, right? A certain functioning pattern.
Right.
If that pattern becomes distorted, that's where you run into the root cause of dis-ease.
Right.
Because it is an imbalance in function.
Right.
Right? So whenever that happens, what do people do? They might see a physician, they might see a doctor, right? And the doctor may dress the wound, right? But it's the core energy blueprint, the Most High, that heals it.
Exactly.
Right.
Which is restoring the pattern to its original wholeness.
Right.
So it's not, it's not a worshiping of the idea, right? We're gleaning an understanding of another segment of the human expression, right? Which is a spiritual expression,
Yes.
right? Another body of expression in terms of who you are,
Right.
right? So, and I'm gonna get off the horn here in a minute. If I wanna take this to something that people relate to in the Bible, right? There are several instances in the Bible where it talks about, when the body ceases, it returns to the dust,
Right.
right? And the soul remains silent. Okay, but it is still developing.
Right.
Even though it's silent, it's still developing. Right. And where we probably don't gain insight is, we lose granularity in what's taking place in that development. So if we attune our consciousness appropriately on this side, right, and we take this type of information, right, and you assign it to your sphere of learning, now you capture these components which you can either build upon or ignore.
Right.
Whatever you choose, right, for the purposes of your development.
Right.
It's interesting. And one of the action organs is your feet.
Your feet.
Right. Your feet.
Feet.
And I know this is up Zocane's lane. The vital breath.
Yes.
The vital breath is apana. One of the 5 vital pranas. It is associated with elimination, governing the exhalation of the breath, digestive elimination, and menstruation.
Right.
All right. So I don't know if we're going to go any more into the Muladhara, but one thing I want to say how it aligns with creation or how we see creation is, I'm going to reiterate, it's the first density. It's related to the first density,
right?
Which is being and awareness, right? It covers, the color is the red ray or the root chakra.
Okay.
Right. And the type of body you have or it represents is the atomic body. Atoms.
Yeah. Right.
Or atom.
Or atom.
Everybody follow that?
And you can look into the anatomic system.
Exactly.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And that is a medical expression, right, that correlates with what we're talking about.
Right. And also, as we kind of move up the chakra, you'll see how we are multi-dimensional beings.
Right.
Each chakra relates to some aspect of creation. That's why you have animal tendencies, because you're going to see when we get to the second chakra, it's related to the animal kingdom.
Right.
To movement. But let me continue. Let me finish this off. The first density is related to all organic matter, earth, water, fire, and air. And, I said ether, but earth, water, fire, and air. And if we want to say time, as we understand time, because time is actually an illusion created by us, it takes billions of years spent in a timeless state of being or existence.
Right.
All right. Did anybody have anything to add to that?
Well, I would say, with saying that everything has a chakra system.
Yes.
Every animal, rock, planet, universe, it has a chakra system because it's part of the creation. Even if you go into, let's go back into the Bible again, which would be the first day. Mm-hmm. What was created on the first day? The heavens and the earth.
The heavens and the earth. Okay.
The ground.
Okay.
So if we continue on to these other days, you will see other things start to take place, and you're going to see them line up with the chakras also.
Interesting. I never tried to look at it in that manner.
So is that people will say it's not in the Bible? Yes, it is. You just don't have the consciousness to see it at wherever your consciousness at.
Oh, maybe
I see it.
Maybe they're not supposed to.
And maybe they're not supposed to.
Some people may not be able, they're not supposed to.
I can see it. I can see it throughout the whole book, really.
Right. So going back to the root and kind of like moving through consciousness, understanding that the elements, like we said, fire, water, air, what did I miss? Water, they interact with one another. Mm-hmm. And I said it's for billions of years. And as this interaction happens, things begin to evolve, especially here on Earth. And this evolution of consciousness moves us into the second density, which is growth and movement. All right. So you want to take it to second, which lines with the second chakra? That's where I'm going with.
Right. So let me just add one more thing for the root chakra. So if you're doing a meditation on the root chakra, the tones that normally I do toning myself. I do a lot of toning. The tone would be like and you'll start feeling it within the lower part or your tailbone. Actually, you'll start feeling the vibration. Or you can use the one called LAM. It's called LAM. And those are the vibrational, if you're going to go into a vibrational meditation or toning meditation for the root chakra.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
so moving into the second density, again, which aligns with the sacral chakra or the second chakra.
Right.
Consciousness becomes aware of different portions of itself communicating with one another. Through this communication, a second stage is reached where consciousness has learned the lessons of beingness and can now begin to respond to its own environment through this newly learned awareness. As it begins to generate a realization of space and time, consciousness takes on a new vehicle This is what these physical bodies are. Anything you see in physicality that has a soul or insoul or has some level of consciousness in it, it's a vehicle, right?
Right.
It takes on a new vehicle of exploration. So, how does that align with the second chakra? In Hindu, it's called a Svadhisthana.
Right.
Svadhisthana. Emotions,
relationships.
This the location. This chakra lies a mere 3 centimeters below the Muladhara, between the, I always get this word, the coccyx and the sacrum, and 2 inches or so under the navel, which is your belly button. More specifically, it is related to the upper border of the sacrum, the triangular bone in the spinal column wedged between the 2 hip bones. This site is about halfway between the navel and the sex organs and 9 inches above the seam of the perineum. The specificity of the preceding locations aside, sources differ. The Svadhisthana is variously said to occupy regions of the genitalia, abdomen, sacrum, or navel, although the latter is usually ascribed to the third chakra. That its nerve plexus lies in the pelvic region, as one might expect, seems settled, yet various sources link it to either the sacral, hypogastric, or prostatic nerve plexus within the area. Okay? So, the Sanskrit name for the second chakra, like I said, is Svadhisthana. Sva means self,
Right.
and Adhisthana means dwelling place or seat or residence. The term then means to abode or the abode of self.
So when I hear something like that, what comes to mind for me is that this is the place where you retain memories, your circadian rhythm, and timing cycles. And in a few other studies that I've seen, this is what is also known as the etheric body.
Okay.
And this is the portion of you that, like, for an example, when you go to sleep at night, and if you've ever been in a place where it's like, oh man, you're having a memory somewhere else, right, while you're asleep. This is the etheric body. Right. So, like, that's why you might hear people talk about or discuss things that, be very conscious about what you go to sleep about be very conscious about what you go to sleep thinking about. Right? Because you harness these memories and essentially they go with you. They don't leave. So, like, you ever been in a situation where, like, you might tell yourself, hey, body, wake me up at this time. Mm-hmm. Right? And it retains that memory, right? And your body essentially, it moves on that idea.
Right.
So.
Right.
The color is orange.
Correct. The element of it is water.
Okay. The associated glands, the gland corresponding to this chakra is the gonads or testes for men, or ovaries for women. The prostrate gland is generally oriented toward the first chakra, but in some systems it is shared between the first and the second chakra. Right. The testes and ovaries, never mind on that part. Body parts managed. The second chakra manages all of the sex organs, including the uterus, vagina, and the cervix. It also manages the pelvis in general and lower vertebrae. So, I mean, somebody's probably like, well, why do I need to know all this? Sometimes when we're going through things mentally, physically, we would say spiritually, but just as a whole wellness of being, holistically, you will actually feel certain things in these areas. Exactly. You may experience certain things in these areas, depending on what state of mind you're in. And certain, like you said, diseases or disorders, you may need some type of healer or person to deal with these areas to help you get back in balance.
Right. And to add on to what you're saying, well, why do I need to know all of this? because these are areas within the physicality of the body that motivate decision making.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. So what has been termed as impulsiveness, right? That means that a lot of decisions are made without the advent of discernment. So if you tune into, our previous shows, right, we talk about suffering. Suffering comes as a result of certain decisions that you make,
Right.
right? An inability to discern properly certain things that you might feel,
Exactly.
right? Or discern properly a disarray of pattern function within these areas that we're discussing.
Right.
Right.
It's not a hyper focus on the organ itself as opposed to the functional feeling that corroborates with you making a decision in this lifetime.
Right. Because these energy centers do control emotional,
Right.
things within the body or what you're going through. Like the one we're talking about now, which is the orange chakra, would be intimacy,
Right.
letting go, taste, emotional needs, emotional cleansing, warmth, and desire. So if you're connected to all of that and you're holding on to something, you may have issues with your sacral chakra.
Right.
With which would be the orange color. So I would, suggest most people, if you do have those problems, you can overcome it by putting your stuff around orange things, dressing in orange, carrying orange stones or crystals or what have you. And it'll help you out within the sacral chakra. Okay. And even if you're doing the toning for the sacral chakra is I gotta remember. Let me see if I got it. I forgot it.
It's all good. It'll come back to you. It'll come back to you.
Yeah, it will.
Okay, so this kind of reiterating what Zokane just said. This Svadhisthana can flower, inaugurating us into the textures of life,
right?
Including the complex layers of feelings that help us to navigate our reality. Because of this chakra, we both expand into our individuality and reach out to touch others. Here we flow with the element of water to drink from the nectar of life, no matter the ups and downs. Now, that being said, how does that relate to the existence that's around about us? That second chakra aligns with the second density of conscious growth, right?
Okay.
Again, it's growth and movement. And again, it's the orange ray, as we said, the sacral chakra, and this body is a chemical body, right? It includes all biological life and organic matter with autonomous movement.
So an ability to move freely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Microbial life through plants and animals. So from that point, microbiology all the way up to plants and animals, which includes humans. But we're going to stick with plants and animals. Consciousness develops awareness through communication and interaction. So when you start looking at it, when you look at these animals, they're usually in groups and packs, and you're going to have some exceptions here and there. But when birds fly, it's almost like a communication or a feeling that they have to where they move as one.
So I'll give you the term for that. It's called emergence theory.
Okay.
Right. So what they do is it's called bird murmurations. All right. And when you see that, right, that's a unified idea. And really like what they do, right? So if you take one bird, what they actually do is that they focus on the 7 closest birds to them. And whatever that bird does, it emulates that pattern, right, in the function of one pattern. Fish do the same thing. It's called
yes.
Yeah, it's called swarm behavior in the ocean. What it does is it's a deterrent against predators.
So it makes them look bigger.
It's not that it makes them look that it makes them look bigger, right? But it's a confusion tactic, right, to ward off an anomaly that might try to disrupt the one idea, right. So, nature has that expression,
and it's showing you through the evolution of consciousness that you're moving from being, right, which is really an individual thing. Kind of in the construct. Yeah. Then you move into a service of self. Then you move into the realm of service of others because you have a group mind.
A group mind.
Same thing with the packs, wolves, big cats, lions and tigers and so on and so forth. So you see this pattern continue through the animal kingdom, plants, so on and so forth. Right. You can watch nature and see the evolution of consciousness.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And also what I got pulling something out the scriptures. The person that I have for the sacral chakra would be Abraham, who had to move from this place to another place to come out or to transform to something else. Then once he got to himself, he decided to be the birds as a group. He had to move with these people everywhere he had to go. And if you look at it, it does have also with the sexual desires, he would become the fathers of nations.
Okay.
So that's what I correlate some of the sacral chakra with Abraham. And with that, I also correlated with the Feast of Unleavened Bread.
Okay.
So y'all can go. We ain't gonna get into that because it's a long story. And also, I want to go back to the toning. The tone on that is ooh, or you can do vom, which is vom, which will help you when you're doing a meditation. These will start to make those chakras turn because it's vibrating off of that sound.
Okay. Did we talk about the diseases?
No, we didn't get into that yet.
All right. So the related diseases, problems of the second chakra result in health issues, including the reproductive and urinary systems, menstruation, sexual dysfunctions, chronic lower back pain, sciatica, joint problems, loss of sensual pleasure, appendix, all itis, diseases of the lower bowels such as diverticulitis, and compulsions including carbohydrate addictions. So sugar addiction.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Blood actually says blood sugar up here. Actually, on one of my charts.
Okay.
Blood sugar.
Anybody got anything they want to add to the second chakra as I move forward? All right. So just to understand the aspect of density, the latest stage of the second density are animals who become pets through their interactions with humans.
Right.
They're given a name, for example, boundaries, affection. They're given a sense of individuality. And the animals begins to develop a level of self-awareness, which allows the consciousness to begin to evolve into or towards what we consider the third density.
Right.
So does everybody understand what I mean by the latest development? You might see it in some other wilder animals like primates, high primates, elephants, so on and so forth. But when we're talking about what we can see in, domestically, pets, you're actually blessing a pet and moving them along on a conscious level by taking them to be a pet.
Interesting.
They're taken away from a pact where they have a group or hive mind to an individual.
Right.
So that brings us or expands us into the third density.
Right.
And in the third density, the veiling process occurs. And I'll explain what that means. The third density is, excuse me, had some pizza the other day. The third density is shrouded. Each entity is shrouded. Their memory of their previous incarnation is shrouded. So there's no awareness that the soul is on an evolutionary journey. This allows each entity to make a completely authentic choice between the positive and negative polarity. For principle.
Say it again.
So when we move into the third density, meaning the soul or the soul is expanding its consciousness to become, let's say, a human being, right? Before you come into physical incarnation, you are covered with a veil. Some call it the veil of forgetting. Following me?
Right.
So that you don't remember any previous incarnations. Mm-hmm. And what that does is it gives the soul, each entity, I should say, which is the soul, it gives them the opportunity to make a completely authentic choice between the positive and negative polarity. Right? The catalyst for evolution in the third density is psychological suffering.
Which that's the emotional body.
That's moving from the emotional body. Yes. And it's also including the mental body, but that gets into a lot of things because it's the deliberation between doing this or doing that. Also, you have, through consciousness development, you have developed an ego.
Right.
This is why, excuse me, the catalyst is what we would call contrast, challenges, or difficulties. That's what puts you in a position to choose positively or negatively.
And this is where, like, through several texts, I'm gonna just give you a pattern that you can recognize. Mm-hmm. This is where you get a lot of the if-then clauses.
Mm-hmm. Say that again.
So in a lot of different texts, right? What you're describing, this is where you get a lot of the if-then clauses. So if this, then that.
Got it.
Okay, and then based on that choice, right? Either you learn or you run the cycle of suffering.
Right. Because the suffering is it's a paradox. Because I'm going to say the suffering is a result of not necessarily getting the lesson, but it's also the process of getting the lesson.
It is. It's they're on the same line.
So one thing I wanted to let everyone understand, the third density is the most difficult density of consciousness.
Right.
In comparison to all the others. Why? Because of the suffering. Suffering forces consciousness to gain freedom from the ego, which was developed through the second density. This allows the entity to eventually become autonomous and possess free will. Catalyst in the third density is very high because both polarities must be presented in equal proportion. Mm-hmm. The development of the ego creates a sense that the entity is separate from everyone and everything, which initially creates hostile behavior at the beginning of the third density. And then it moves on for thousands of years and many incarnations are experienced. The soul learns the lessons of love, or should learn the lessons of love and understanding, and begins to remember that it is an eternal being having a temporary physical experience.
Yeah.
At this point, the choice between the two polarities is made. If an entity decides it prefers the negative polarity, then it begins its evolutionary journey on the service of self path or service to self path. If the entity chooses the positive polarity, it begins its journey on the service to others, or you could say service to other self path. Everything about the soul's evolutionary journey begins around this choice point in the third density we are experiencing right now. That choice point of choosing to be service of self to self or service to others. The following 4th to 7th densities are spent learning, exploring, and enhancing the chosen polarity. And this kind of gets segues, and I don't know if we're going to talk about it here, into like other higher dense beings and why you have what we consider negative energies and positive energies, because they're further along in consciousness and development. Mentioning it, you want to take on the Kundalini? Okay.
I just know it to be energy. I just know it to be energy.
So the understanding is the Kundalini is they call it the coiled serpent that lies at the base of the root chakra, and it's coiled up like almost like a spring. So if a spring is condensed, so it's a condensed ball of energy that's coiled like a serpent that's at the base of your root chakra. Right. And as you activate your chakras, that energy shoots up the spinal column, right? And the thought or the idea is when it hits the crown chakra, you experience oneness with all creation. You realize that you are not a separate entity. You are not an individual. You are everything and all things that you experience in this reality, which is experiencing every density. So you actually move to an awareness of oneness, or as we would say, if you maintain that, we call it being enlightened, and you have achieved a level of Christ consciousness.
Right.
So here, a burst of flame draws the prana, which is the energy, this is pretty much telling you what I just said, and transform it into vital energies that flow throughout the body.
Right.
And here gather the nadis that control bodily functions and the digestive process. These are like energy centers, other energy centers with your meridians and so on and so forth. That's connected to all of your glands, the nadis. We digest and assimilate more food through this center. The manipura, the brain of the body. We incorporate wisdom and intuitive knowledge, learning to shape our thoughts according to our will. So let me pause for a second. This is why when you get back to the density, we're dealing with choice, free will.
Right.
You're at a space where you're choosing to go this way or function with the order of the seasons, the order of the earth's movements,
The rhythm
of everything, the rhythm of life.
Yeah.
Or you can choose contrary.
Right.
And move in whatever that direction is.
Right.
Right? This is so interesting. And ultimately to uphold the will of the highest one. So you're moving to the will of the highest one is, what did you say? Balance, flow, and then there's the opposite, whatever that is.
Right.
The result, if you follow the flow, is a strong mind-body connection that enables us to reflect our beliefs in our physical body. As we work through our fears and prejudices, struggling with ups and downs of ego, we eventually figure out that our inner light is one of brilliance. And what happens when we align our goals with our inner brilliance? Success, both personal and positional or worldly, is ours. And I'll stop there with that understanding.
Right. And you mentioned the fire or that light or whatever, that fire. Actually, that's the element for the sacral chakra.
Okay.
The element is for fire.
Okay.
And we're gonna go back to the scriptures. The person I got out of the scriptures for that would be Jacob.
Okay.
Because he could have chose to go either way with Esau, or he could have chose the other way with Laban.
Okay.
But he chose a different way. We would say he probably chose a righteous way. And also the sacral chakra, toning chakra for that would be ooh, like ooh. And the next one is another one they have. They also use ram. Okay. And for the I have for first fruits, because you can bring your fruits and you could not bring your first fruits.
Okay.
Either one. And I put that down for the solar chakra situation.
So the body parts manage in the third chakra. It manages the digestive system
Right.
and organs, your skin,
Right.
breath, upper abdomen, diaphragm, middle spine, small intestines, and parts of the kidneys and adrenals,
Right.
particularly the adrenal cortex. So you think about it like if you were in a fight or flight mode, right? Isn't that choice? And then you have your adrenaline rushes to whatever you need to do. If you need to run or you need to be in a combative position.
Right.
So, yeah.
So we're probably gonna go to the heart chakra next.
Okay.
Which is interesting. So when I put Jacob there, as we know that his name was changed to Israel,
All right.
and he started to become Israel at a time till his name was changed. He started taking these steps. Okay. So you always take the steps from being on the sacral chakra. I mean, the solar plex chakra to the heart chakra.
Okay.
So I would say that would be my next thing, would be going into the heart chakra.
Okay.
Which would be Israel.
Okay.
Going into the heart chakra.
Interesting.
Changing or going up the path or ascending.
All right. So for understanding of the association with the Manipura to the your endocrine energy, your endocrine system. The pancreas is Manipura's companion hormone gland. It is oblong, flat. It's an organ located deep in the abdomen and under the left rib cage. One part lies between the stomach and the spine, and the other part lies wrestled in the curve of the small intestine. The head of the pancreas is positioned at the third lumbar vertebrae. The pancreas is an important part of the digestive system, serving two functions at once. Interesting. As an endocrine gland, it releases juices, including hormones and enzymes, directed into the bloodstream. It is also an endocrine gland because it releases juices into the ducts. In fact, about 95% of the pancreas functions as an exocrine gland, producing enzymes that aid in digestion. The best known pancreatic hormone is insulin, which is secreted into the bloodstream to regulate the body's sugar levels.
Right.
The link between the Manipura chakra and the pancreas means that problems with the pancreas can cause imbalances in the Manipura and vice versa. One way to assess the relationship between the two is to assess the placement of your pancreas. If it is in the high right position, you will feel a pulse at the center of your navel. If you are experiencing headaches, diarrhea, abdominal pain, fatigue, anxiety, or certain other conditions, your pancreas might be displaced. For instance, a pulse located above and to the left of the navel could indicate the potential for respiratory disorders. To the left, emotional problems. To the right, energy blockages. Finding the pulse to the right and below the navel indicates digestive disorders. So, this is the seat of your will. Following me? So, you have to be very mindful and take care of, like, let me very mindful and responsible for where you direct your will and the deeds that you do, the things that you put your hand forth to do. Because as you make a choice, each choice comes with an activation.
Right.
And that activation actually pushes you further on the service to self path or service to others path.
Right.
To, we would say, love light path or negative path.
Right.
And, you just want to be very, very mindful, because I say mindful because for those that get more spiritually adept, and when I say spiritually adept, I mean you actually starting to hear, dream,
right,
dream more, see more, feel more, and know more, because consciousness is being expanded with the greatest consciousness that's already existing, of course, and you're actually tapping into other things, which, as O'Kane says, we're moving into the fourth chakra or the heart chakra.
Right.
And when you move into that area, the veil starts becoming a little bit lifted.
Right.
And that's where other dimensions or states of awareness, states of consciousness starts to intermingle or mix in with fourth density, third/moving through fourth density beings.
Right.
And if you're more polarized negatively, you'll attract more negative consciousness or aware or beings of that awareness or vibration.
Experience.
And vice versa. We call them spirits. Some people call them demons, thought forms, all of these things.
Yes.
Okay.
And remember, this is the one where we, as you explained earlier, we're coming out of this density.
Right.
Into the fourth density.
Into the fourth density. And to be aware, the fourth density and chakra, I just deal with the chakra, but it, like I said, it's aligned to they're both aligned to each other. It's actually a gateway. So think of a gate opening, allowing in, closing off.
Right.
So in this gateway, you're moving more from a physical related plane from the third chakra down. Exactly. Now you're moving into high spirit once you start going through that heart chakra.
So so these elements would be comprised of like your logic, your intellect, and your rational ability.
Yes.
Because through those mediums, like you said, say again.
I was gonna say emotions.
Yes, and emotions.
Yeah.
Through those mediums, you open the gate.
Right.
Right. So this is kind of something like we echoed last week, right? When you think about your relationships with people, places, and things, right? They're comprised of this particular set of energy bodies or subtle energy bodies. That's what I would say. And through your ability to rationalize the components which structure your logic, and those specific tenets, right? You incur certain situations.
Yes.
And from that, you either harness the lessons of that experience or you don't.
Right.
Right. Exactly.
All right. So, and I'm gonna give props, shout out to whoever some of the information that I got, because it's not all just my information. So I'll do that at the end of the podcast. So a saying would be: consciousness sleeps in the rock, it dreams in the animal, and it awakens in the human being.
Right on.
All right. So we're moving from fourth density, or we're moving to fourth density, or through fourth density, because some would even say fourth density is actually the elevator to get you to the fifth.
To the fifth.
Yes.
Exactly.
So the fourth density of consciousness is of love and understanding.
Right.
In this density, or in this expansion of consciousness, you start having spiritual awakenings, which we've mentioned here on this podcast. You might see some technological advancements. You're going to have cross communications between densities, which is what I was saying, because it's technically, as you move through that chakra or that space or that conscious level, you start becoming aware of other things.
Right.
I wouldn't even call them things. Other consciousnesses.
Exactly.
Right. And what'll happen, we're going to start seeing more channeling or channel works. I've read so many channel books in the past few years that some have been around since the late 70s, early 80s, and I'm just becoming aware of them. Mm-hmm. In later stages of this density, individuals are going to begin to merge consciousnesses together to form what is called a social memory complex. This is like hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of years.
Right.
Right.
Does this at all correlate to the imprint of your karma?
Yes.
So like when you link these, how do you call it? When you link the spiritual faculties to the lower subtle bodies, or
well, what I'll say to it, right? I say yes, but it's going to be the culmination of, for example, all of humanity that have been, that is, and that ever will be. At some point in time, we're going to move into us to where all of the experiences we've had are going to come together. These consciousness are going to unite to become like a library, which will be called a social memory complex.
Right.
Meaning there will be like what we consider an angelic being, like the Earth family at whatever point in time, in however we perceive time, which I'll say millions and millions and millions of, whatever, however you want to say it, is going to become a collective consciousness. And then we're going to go and teach other beings that are at the stage that we are at right now. And they're going to see us as a collective, as an angelic being.
Right. And that's what a lot of ancient traditions describe as influential beings over a certain society, right? So, and correct me if I'm wrong, brothers, but it takes that concept and it says like, hey, look, this particular or this group of consciousness, right, might manifest its thoughts, if you will, on this particular group of people, and they act the way that they act.
Yes.
They think the way that they think.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Which is a concept that's been around for a very, very, very long time.
Right. So these individual entities become a larger entity that serve as a walking library where each entity has access to everyone else's memory and knowledge. And this process continues to the fifth and sixth densities as the social memory complexes become larger and more powerful. So, in a lot of these channelers you see that's out there, I'll throw out Abraham Hicks, Cryon, Bashar. It's many. I'm not gonna sit here and name all of them, but they don't speak as I. You usually don't see them speak as I.
Right.
They say we. Because when they're speaking, it's different. They're tapping into a social memory complex that has different experiences. And when they're speaking to you, someone that may have been, or some entity that may have been through something similar or the same as you, will speak to your heart so you can get the understanding.
Right.
So someone that might be watching this that's very religious will say, well, the only time I seen an entity talk and say, well, we did this or we did that is legion. I am legion, for we are many. Because I had somebody tell me that when I started channeling.
Right.
So I'll say this. Let us create man in our image and our likeness. It didn't say let I.
Right.
Let me.
Right.
It said let us.
Exactly.
Who or what was that? And when we use, we look at words in the Hebrew, we see God. Right. And in the English, we see big G, God, and little g, God. It's very indicative of what's going on. Because if we think of a great light that's fractalized into the many, I could say, I will create. But then when we fractalize, that will is carried into every fractal.
Right.
And each fractal says, I will create. And if they're collective consciousnesses, they will say, let us create in our image, in our likeness. And that same image that they have is actually a representation of the image that is projected from the original source.
I give you a very relevant example. What's your favorite car?
I don't know anymore.
Well, one that you used to like.
BMW 7 Series.
Okay. When you step into the BMW 7 Series, you step into the consciousness of that architect.
Right. That's interesting.
Got it.
And you become that.
You understand what I'm saying?
Because once you get in the car,
so
you become that car.
Every vehicle is a geometric pattern of consciousness. Because it harnesses whatever's in the sphere of their space of awareness. The technology, right? The upholstery, the visual enhancement of the vehicle, right? Its functionalities, just its computer programming, all of that, right? That stems from a collective consciousness.
Right.
And where did that come from? In the essence of I will create.
Right.
The idea of bara.
Right.
To create.
That's why you can see this is the fourth principle in theory, because you can see singular as well as many.
Many.
Right.
And that understanding is very layered. I always use the concept of an egg. Excuse me, an onion. An onion is one onion, but as you peel it, it's so many layers until you get to the core. So one could say, well, God created everything. How can you say there's many? Because there is and there isn't all at the same time.
Right. And where there isn't, it's one.
It's one.
It's one.
It's one.
So, again, I'm gonna keep echoing this, right? It's allowing yourself to obtain the vision of the sacred pattern.
Right.
Because it's all throughout. It's the fabric of everything that makes a visual society what it is.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And I know for some people it's going to be as it says in the scripture, it's going to be a hard lesson, because how can there be one and be many and not one at the same time? And that's very hard. But when you get the understanding of the concept of a fractal, and you say, I will create, and then you have what we perceive as many eyes, but they're all functioning under the will or the original prime thought of creating.
Right.
And even though we say there's a war in heaven or wars that's happening, these are actual manifestations of the thought of the one having an experience in realms and dimensions we call physical, we may call spiritual, we call them whatever it is that we need to get an understanding, but they all are functioning for the will of the one.
Right.
And I stop there.
Right. I remember that's the green chakra.
The green, there you go. We get back on that track.
Green chakra, which is the heart chakra. Love, compassion, forgiveness, self-acceptance. The body parts that's correlated with it is the heart, circulatory system, blood, rib cage. That's interesting, because if you look in the scripture when it says, took the rib to make woman, but I know it don't say rib, but a side of a person. The diaphragm, the thymus, the breast, arms, hands, and shoulders. So if you're having issues with some of those parts, you might need to love more.
Each one of those are support elements of the body.
Exactly.
Yes.
They support another function in the totality of the being.
Right. The meditation on that, if you're gonna do a toning, is is or you could do some people do rom. All right. And like I say, what I got out of the scriptures would be Israel, because they're supposed to be the center portion of the world. We're supposed to teach the people,
all right,
everything that's supposed to go on within the world.
Okay.
It was given to Israel. If you read it up in the scriptures, as saying, Israel is my people.
Okay.
So, and you're supposed to do this and let the other nations see this, and you're supposed to be grand to the other nations.
Okay. I'm gonna take that construct and remove the people. Not
Right.
taking away from it. I'm just
Right.
gonna take the construct of the words
Exactly.
Yisrael or Yisrael or Yisrael. He who is like God.
Exactly.
He who is like God.
Right.
So he who is like God will teach the nations and teach the people.
Right.
And based on the construct of how I understand the story, it's not necessarily incumbent on one race or group of people.
Right.
It's put in there that way, or it's perceived that way, but what it is almost like an infection. I don't like using the term infection, but it's this entity, right? It's being exactly what it's being. And as it rubs shoulders or comes upon other entities, they see something in that entity that is useful for evolutionary or the growth of consciousness and awareness.
Exactly.
And it begins to spread. And then that entity starts creating more entities that is like God. Right. So as it says, Israel or Yisrael is my son, or my first begotten son.
Right.
And if Israel is making more Israels,
right,
then we all on earth become the
Israel.
Sons and daughters of God.
Right.
Right. So moving on to the correlation of the fourth density, and I think we'll probably wrap it up after the fourth density, and then we'll finish up next weekend.
Oh, let me touch.
No, I'm not wrapping up yet. I'm just saying after we finish fourth density.
Right.
I mean fourth chakra.
Let me put the feast day out there, which would be Shavuot, or what they would call Pentecost.
Okay.
Because at that time we know Israel received the law or the word to bring forth or go out.
Okay.
Which is love actually. Okay. Which you have lines up with the heart chakra.
Okay. So moving from the density to the actual chakra, continuing on, the fourth chakra is often referred to as the heart chakra. It is through the energy of this chakra that we become able to make decisions beyond the bounds of our karma. Decisions that invite us to truly follow our hearts and serve without concern for the desires of the lower realms. So like I said, it's a gateway into what we consider high spirit.
Repeat it again.
So this moves us to make decisions that invite us to truly follow our hearts and serve. Oh, excuse me. You said say it again. It is through the energy of this chakra that we become able to make decisions beyond the bounds of our karma. Decisions that invite us to truly follow our hearts and serve without concern for the desires of the lower realms.
Right. In the lower realms, they are immensely focused on the self-serving self path. That's all I was going to say on it.
Okay. I would say it's paradoxical. I agree. But at the same time, the lower realms is where, again, we're choosing.
You choose to develop there.
Self-serving self and self-serving others.
Right.
And then once you make that decision, once you get to the if you choose to move through the heart chakra, I say it that way, then
I mean, that's why everything, several texts, they have the pattern of weighing things or weighing decision making through the heart.
Right.
The focus is on the building of the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You can either build it or you can keep rebuilding it.
Mm. Yeah.
So
the lower realms, as I said, it is here we confront the shadows of life, including lust, defiance, and anxiety, but in such a way that through devotion to compassion and honor, all is made well, including ourselves. With the awakening of the anahata, we come to realize that in the void of silence within this energy center, we can transcend our temptations toward violence. What counts here are matters of the heart, and only the heart, which begin and end in love. Right. So, just an analogy, I'm going to take it to the Bible. Whether you're a believer in a Messiah or Christ or not, it doesn't matter. I'm going to say it this way. So if you take a menorah and align it with the chakras, if you go through the heart chakra will be the representation of Christ or the Christ consciousness. Right. And you move through the Christ consciousness to get to the higher realms.
Right.
Following? So one would say that Christ, the Christ consciousness, Christ, Yeshua, who they call Jesus, he's dwelled and focused mainly on love, as well as Buddha and other, some would call them Christed beings or Buddha beings and so on and so forth. So the purpose is the energy center of love and relationships of the anahata or the heart chakra.
Right.
When you have imbalances in this area, you can really become very jealous.
Yep.
Possessive. Can you think of any other imbalances for the heart chakra?
You don't have love, no compassion.
No compassion.
You know what I mean? No hope.
All right. Since you say that, I'm gonna take a sidebar and align that what you're saying with the fourth density and the service to self path. That path evolves through the fourth density path, or we could say the path of negativity. Evolves through the fourth density through the extreme narcissism, greed, and hatred in order to polarize further down the negative path. They skip over activating the fourth chakra or the heart chakra,
Right.
meaning the entity views love and compassion as completely useless.
Right.
And because of this skipping over the fourth chakra activation or energy center, the evolution through the fourth density is much longer and more difficult for the negative path, or you could say painful. Now, going back to the concept I said, going back to Christ or Christ awareness or Christ consciousness, Christ said, if any man does not come through me, or any man does not come through the heart chakra,
come on,
and move into the spiritual realm or the higher realms, he's a thief and a liar. Now, everybody has their interpretation of that, but I'm saying here that when you move into the spiritual realm without love, compassion, and mercy, and these kind of principles, you become a different type of being.
right?
I mean, you might have something that's, well, what are the fruits of the spirit of love?
Exactly.
Mercy, compassion, right? Long suffering.
Exactly.
Love does not boast, right? It doesn't do some of these things that that you might read in the Bible,
Right.
you know, which are often quoted, you know what I mean, you know, in several circles.
Yeah.
And I would venture to say this just as a reminder, like, you know, as you take on a path of discernment, every relationship that you build with somebody is teaching you the truth about love.
Right.
Right? And a lot of times you don't like what that looks like or what that feels like. But it is necessary for your development.
Oh, I forgot something.
Spiritually.
Right.
And where you may be weak in compassion, the love is that you'll get more opportunities to exercise compassion.
Right.
Right.
Until you get it.
Right.
And when I say until you get it, you're no longer attached to a certain outcome, right, that separates you from that element of love.
Okay. So I missed something in the third density, and I'm just gonna say it and then jump on the same construct with the fourth. So I forgot to say that the third density is self-awareness and the choice. Yellow ray, we said solar plexus. It's a chemical body.
Right.
It's our current density level, technically. It's the shortest and most intense of all densities. The introduction of polarity and the veil of forgetting is in this density for your soul's evolution. And the choice is made between polarities in the third density. Now, moving to where we are currently, which is the fourth density, which is love and understanding. It aligns with the green ray or the heart chakra.
Right.
It's a chemical / light body. So now we're moving into light, back into the light construct.
Exactly.
The average incarnation cycle is about 90,000 years. The full evolutionary cycle of this density is around 30 million years. And remember, as we reckon time.
Right.
Now, some schools of thought said the Earth shifted into the fourth density around 2012. And the Earth will now begin evolving fourth density bodies. So for some of you that don't know, about, was it now 3 years ago, I was dealing with high blood pressure and things of that nature. And I was trying not to be on anybody's medication. And certain things started happening as far as the herbal 21 day herbal cleanse kept coming up in my feeds. And I was like, what is this? I kept ignoring it. And then I was like, okay, well, something's trying to tell me something. Right. And to make a long story short, I took this 21-day herbal cleanse. It's not really a plug, but it's a plug, I guess. And I lost 45 pounds in 21 days. My blood pressure just dropped. Right. All the excess fat or anything, visceral fat, just went away. And I'm more tapped in, for lack of better terms, into what we consider spiritual matters. I hear sometimes, I feel, my knowing has increased. And what else? Did I see? Did I say see? I see things. Somebody say, you just crazy. No, I see things. My third eye, if I focus, when I close my eyes and I focus, I'll actually see vivid visions of persons, places, and things.
I just want to touch on something you said, like when a person says like, well, you crazy. Right. A lot of times, I'm of a concentration that, like, when you see people who may be in asylums or something like that, they probably couldn't handle the influx of spiritual information that was coming into their mind.
Right. Yeah.
As opposed to you structuring your awareness, right, to deal with things incrementally. Right. So like if you take a computer, if you overload the computer with information, you're going to destroy it.
It crashes.
It crashes.
Can crash. Right.
It can malfunction.
Right.
And, we can see that a computer is nothing more than a demonstration of a brain.
Right.
Holding information, storing information, computing information, whatever. Mm-hmm. Right. So again, we use these words or we use phrases to compensate for our ability or inability to perceive things that are in another realm.
Or we can say that to perceive things that's beyond our state of consciousness.
Yes.
Right.
Just to add to what you said, Spirit is telling me I have to say this. It's the same thing with psychedelics.
Yeah.
Cannabis. If you want to do ayahuasca and all, different medicines. We call them medicines. I'm not talking about things that are non-natural, that's chemicals added. I don't necessarily agree or disagree with them, but just like Adon says, when you do the work, meditation, prayer, focus, mindfulness, so on and so forth, you're actually conditioning yourself to be prepared to enter what we call altered states of consciousness. So it's like you're training yourself to do a feat. So the warning, I say, you do what you want to do, but this is just a warning or an understanding, or as my brother would say, an awareness, is that when you take certain psychedelics and you've not done certain types of work, it could catapult you into an altered state of consciousness. And what could happen is you may go so far out into that realm, you may not, come back. You may not come back whole. And what I mean by that, you may have one state of your awareness in that place and another in this place. And when you start to interact with people, it can become confusing. And you're not really grounded.
Right.
See, a lot of people think that we need to escape. Escapism.
Right.
A lot of times being inebriated or drinking alcohol, these things alter your state of consciousness.
Right.
Whether it's casually or not. So what'll happen is, in that altering, things that could be coming to deal with you, you may be in a lower state of vibration, and these things may not be, I don't know the term to say, savory, or higher consciousness or higher dimensional beings, as we say, angelic beings, high spirit guides. Right. They may be what we consider lower astral entities, beings like you and I who've transitioned and have not let go of things in this realm, who they may have functioned in the lower state of consciousness when they were physical, and they chose not to go to heal. So what happened is you put yourself in a frequency or vibration to where they can handle you or deal with you in ways that may not be for your highest and best good, but it's all a part of your choice. Right. Nothing comes to you or deals with you without you choosing on some level, whether you're conscious of it or unconscious of it, you give permission permission is always needed.
Right.
Right.
Everything is a choice.
Everything is a choice.
Every action is a choice. Whatever you want to be in life is a choice. Whatever. And why I'm saying this because I saw a video earlier and they was talking about, do you choose to be homosexual or what have you? Yeah, you chose it. On some kind of level, you chose that.
Okay.
So you choose these things. Now, there's no such thing as you don't. You choose. You chose for yourself. It's just that simple. Now, you may wanted to experience that. That's what you wanted to experience.
It's funny because I was thinking paradox, and it's like I was like, well, somebody would say, well, you didn't choose to be black. Yes, I did.
Yes, I did.
You can't choose your skin color, your skin tone. Yes, you can.
Right.
You just don't remember because of the veil.
Right.
And I know, I mean, you believe what you want to believe. That's your belief. You take it on. But I'm just saying that everything on some level, again, we're 3D, 4D beings. When you choose, you're in 4D, 5D, 6D realms of awareness when you make your choices and decisions to come back. And we'll get into that as we move up into the fifth and sixth and seventh densities. But yeah, everything is a choice. This whole existence is based on choice. Anybody had anything else? Did we had anything else to say about the fourth chakra? We talked about the color.
The element, I think,
and body parts managed. Okay, the element is air. Yeah. The body parts managed is managed. The anahata manages the heart, the circulatory system, the blood, lungs, rib cage, breasts, shoulders, arms, hands, and along with other chakras, the diaphragm and the esophagus.
Right. And I got other things on the chart that I have. It even have food or what you should eat to get these chakras, moving. The heart chakra one is vegetables.
Okay.
I'm gonna just go through the ones that we done. The solar plex says grains. The sacral says liquids.
Okay.
And the root chakra says proteins.
Okay.
But like I say, proteins can be they're lower base things. So
perhaps. As far as Sanskrit names, the anahata can be translated as unstruck sound. It can also mean unhurt, unbeaten. That's so interesting. I keep thinking of Christ. One of the reasons for these names is that the various pranas or vital breaths flow through the shushuma or shushumna, the central energy channel along the spine and into the manipura, after which the seed sounds or bijas of the alphabet automatically appear in the fourth chakra. These sounds vary depending on the shape of the breath of different nadis. The more powerful the pressure of the air on the chakra, the more pronounced the seed sound. The important thing to note is that the sounds of these letters are generated without external friction, which is the vibration of sound waves that we usually associate with sound. Hence the term unstruck sound. So, yeah, the heart is, again, I guess I'm only speaking to the love light beings. The heart is very important.
Right.
You know, when you're talking about compassion, mercy, and then you start moving into the gate where, I like to say, I have no enemies.
Right. No, there's no competition.
There's only yourself.
It's only yourself.
Right.
So who are you fighting?
So a lot of the information I got, right? Where's that book? A lot of the information, I came upon this book twice in my lifetime. The first time I saw it, it was in the military. I saw it on the desk. I looked at it. I thumbed through it, and I was like, this is a bunch of baloney, and I threw it down. And then I was listening to, I was reading a book from Edgar Cayce, and I saw the word, the law of one, and I saw that name before somewhere. Right. And then when I looked up the word on Amazon or through the internet, and this book came up. This book is called The Law of One, and this is book one. I have all 5 books. And it's also known as The Raw Material.
Right.
it says by Ra, which is a channeled being or entity, a humble messenger of the law of one. And a lot of the notes that I took actually came from a fellow YouTuber. His name is Aaron Abke.
Right.
Aaron Abke, and he teaches very well, because when I came upon him, I've already read the books, and I felt that he was one of the persons that articulated the law of one so well. This book is very complicated when you read it. It's like an intelligent computer, for lack of better terms, like trying to break down things using different terms and understandings that you're like, whoa. Like, for example, human, it says mind body complex.
Right.
Right.
Complex.
So shout out to Aaron Abke. You could go to his look him up and check out his material. He's a good information on spirituality and so on and so forth. And I like his teachings on the law of one.
Right.
Also, I was utilizing the Llewellyn's complete book of the Chakras. I have not even begun to touch the vastness of information in this book. It's like an encyclopedia. And the author is Cindy Dale. Cindy Dale. Yeah, and other information that I have, I've channeled myself. I have, like as everyone else, we have a spiritual support team. Archangel Michael is my high spirit guide, if you want to say. He wouldn't call himself a spirit guide. I say Archangel is my head. I'm covered by him and protected by him. And I have my spiritual support team as well as my brothers.
Right.
So, y'all got anything?
My charts.
Oh, yes.
Chakra charts. I got them off Amazon. This one is called Primer Charts. And it has like basically a lot of stuff. A lot of information goes in. And it got a back page also. It has a lot of information about chakras, tonings, what you need to do. It even got the for if you want, to burn some, frankincense or whatever. They have the frankincense, whatever chakra it opens up, it would do that. Like the heart chakra has the rose.
Okay.
So, you do stuff like that. And this one's, I don't know who this one's by, but it's the chakra centers. It don't say who's it by, but like I said, I got it off of Amazon. I saw it and I said, well, I got to have that. So,
and as I think Adone, as we started, he kind of said this information, it's not for everybody.
Right.
Somebody, I don't believe in chakras. I don't believe in none of that stuff. Right. And that's okay. Just look at it as you heard some brothers talk about it and you move on. But for those who find interest in it and have, may have understandings, if we said anything wrong that you may perceive as wrong, hit us up in our inbox. Right. But this information that we're putting out is for the awareness of those who are in a state of consciousness that is drawn to the information. It's not to force anybody or put something on anybody to believe anything that we say. Right. It is for those who have a deep draw
to that.
Because you don't get what you want, you get what you are. So,
you know what? I just want to mention one thing to go along with what you're saying. Just having been like well traveled and have met and come in contact with a lot of people. There are souls within this earth who are really trying to understand development. And they don't necessarily get it out of the text.
Right.
And
when you say text, what do you mean?
Any text.
Got it.
Any text, right? But what I would mention, or what I would make a plug for is, allowing yourself to see the patterns, the consistency in different expressions of the same idea. You know what I mean? And I think that just if you look at the consciousness within the earth, there is a hypersensitivity to wanting to understand self, wanting to understand things beyond the physical self. Mm-hmm. And I've shared this with, a few people that I've talked to, and just when you look at the compilation of different texts, I hold that, you know, you get a very redacted view of the expression of a certain concept. So as we, you know, express our take on the information, I just want to make it very, very clear for people. It's not a matter of trying to make you see it the way that we see it. And I can vouch for these brothers. I mean, I know that we have years and years of studying one text.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And repeating the cycle of one text.
Right.
But as you come into, like what my brother said earlier, when it's your time for, you know, what we call a spiritual awakening, or what the scriptures may say as drawing near to the Creator, right? I'm pretty sure, you know, when certain leaders, right, on their journey, when they drew near, it wasn't like the person who drew near at another point in time in history.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? And I would encourage everybody or anybody, you know, to allow yourself to not be captured in things that are carnal. Because as we've said before, right, you can't be in the light, hold yourself in the light, and hold somebody else in darkness.
Right.
Right.
You have to be there to put them there,
You got to be there.
whether physically or consciously.
Right. You understand what I'm saying? So, again, to each their own, right? And there's only love coming from this side of the of the screen.
Exactly.
You feel what I'm saying? But, you know, we encourage the thought-provoking element within you, right, to awaken things that are you,
Yes.
to remind you of the truth of being. And I wouldn't be saying things like this if I didn't physically come in contact with people who are like, listen, I just don't know.
Right.
Or, you know what, I've lost my way. And I think that something that we all share as, let's just say, the human race, I think in some shape, form, or fashion, everybody is trying to make it back to the idea of original wholeness. However, they got to learn that. It's not for me to say, you know, the creator of all things didn't orchestrate your life in such a way, right, for you to get it the way that you getting it.
And can I say something to that?
Yeah.
Understanding that whether you are service to self or service to others, both polarities or both principles or ideas or thoughts are very necessary for the growth of the whole, or the growth or the learning of the one.
Right.
So that's really all I got. You know, I hope everybody have a good week, a blessed week.
Yes.
I hope y'all enjoy.
You know, and I'll see y'all again next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Peace. Shalom.
Peace, much love, and namaste. Waiting for the DJ to get that music up. There we go.
Yeah, man.
If anybody has any suggestions on topics, just hit us up.
Yeah, let us know something. Always catch us. Facebook, Fourth Principle, YouTube, and the Fourth Principle Instagram. Always.
Shalom, shalom.
Oh, and also Spotify. My fault.
Shalom. Shalom.